Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. Over the last week, Battleship New Jersey has gotten to participate in the commissioning of the destroyer USS Barcelona.
Set the watch. On deck, section 1.
Sir, the watch is set.
We hosted a dinner for the crew on board, which was catered by Mission Barbecue. And some of our staff got to go up to New York City to participate in the commissioning of the ship. It was my first time getting on an Arleigh Burke class destroyer since I started working here at the museum. So it got me thinking of how the Navy's modern day premier surface combatant compares to Battleship New Jersey. It's been a while since we did a ship comparison video, so let's run through some of the statistics. Some of the stats here are going to be a little wild compared to other videos. We don't know everything about Arleigh Burke class destroyers because some of it's still classified, they're active vessels. But there are some fun facts available for them out there, and so it was interesting seeing the battleships facts compared. John Barcelona is a Flight 2A Arleigh Burke class destroyer. This is the most current version currently in service, although there are Flight 3 Burkes under construction. The class has been in service since 1991. Basically the same year the battleship is decommissioned, the first of the Arleigh Burkes started coming into service. Barcelona was the 72nd one completed, which makes the Arleigh Burke class the largest class of destroyers with the exception of the Fletcher class of World War II. And calling these ships destroyers is kind of wild when you think about it from a World War II time period. A Fletcher class destroyer displaces about 2,200 tons. The Arleigh Burkes displace about 9,200 tons. An Arleigh Burke destroyer only weighs about 20% of Battleship New Jersey. Much of that extra weight comes from armor. An Arleigh Burke is much closer to half of the dimensions. They're a little bit larger than half of the size of a battleship in terms of length and width. They have a beam of 66 feet compared to 108 feet for the battleship, and a length of 513 feet compared to 887 feet for the battleship. Their top speed is alternatively listed as 30 plus knots, 31 knots, or 32 knots. I'm not sure if this is because it's just guesswork or if different flights of the vessel have different speeds, but their speed is relatively comparable to the 33 knots achievable by an Iowa-class battleship. While an Iowa-class battleship needs a minimum of about 1,600 sailors to operate, Arleigh Burkes have a crew of about 360. Some of the wild stats for you. It took 57 months to build USS Barcelona, but only 32 months to build New Jersey, which is incredible when you consider that it was 5 times as much weight of material assembled to build New Jersey, and she was the first ship of her class built at that yard, compared to Barcelona being something like the 35th ship assembly lined out of Bath Iron Works. An Arleigh Burke class destroyer has approximately 322 miles of electrical cabling, which actually exceeds an Iowa class battleship's 250 miles as built. However, by my estimate, Iowa class battleships are somewhere between 600 and 650 miles after all of their modifications. So fairly comparable with a modern, much more electronically capable warship like an Arleigh Burke. For plumbing, though, it's no competition. Iowa-class battleships have 80 miles of plumbing compared to only 35 for an Arleigh Burke destroyer, which makes sense. They're half the size. They've got half the amount of plumbing. In armament, it's much harder to judge the comparison. Obviously, there's nothing comparable to the 9 16-inch guns that an Iowa-class battleship has on an Arleigh Burke. Their main battery is a single 5-inch 62 caliber gun for the Flight 2A boats, like Barcelona. However, Iowa-class battleships in their current configuration have 12 5-inch 38 caliber guns. Arleigh Burkes have a single 20mm phalanx close-in weapon system, while Iowa-class battleships have 4. Although some Arleigh Burkes have 2, or they have a rolling airframe missile, or they have a Odin laser, or some other fun stuff in place of that second phalanx mount. Regardless, Iowa-class battleships have at least double the close-in defenses. When it comes to 25mm chain guns and 50 caliber machine guns, Iowa-class battleships in the 80s and 90s have the exact same armament as an Arleigh Burke. 2 of the 25mm and 4 of the 50 cals. Arleigh Burkes have hangar space for 2 helicopters, although they typically embark 1. The Iowa-class battleships have no hangar space, but they have landing pads that could accommodate 4 or 5 helos, but by the end of their service, they did not embark any. Arleigh Burkes have 6 torpedo tubes for anti-submarine torpedoes, and Iowa-class battleships have 0 indigenous anti-submarine defense. Missiles are where the Arleigh Burkes really outshine the Iowas. Iowa-class battleships have 36. Iowa-class battleships have 32 Tomahawk cruise missiles and 16 harpoons. While some early Arleigh Burkes had 8 harpoons, ships like Jan Bass alone are built without any. However, they have 96 vertical launch cells in place of the 32 armored box launchers that an Iowa-class have. And in addition to holding Tomahawks, they also hold both long-range anti-air missiles like the Standard Missiles series and close-range anti-air missiles like the Sea Sparrows. When you pair that with their Aegis radar system, that gives them significantly more anti-air capability than an Iowa-class battleship. And a commander's picture of the battle space is definitely going to be better from the combat spaces of an Arleigh Burke destroyer than it would be in the combat engagement center on an Iowa-class battleship. So, would you rather see the Navy build Iowa-class battleships quickly but using 5 times as much resources, or Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, which take a lot longer, but can be built in much larger numbers? Let us know in the comment section down below. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State. We'd like to also thank Mission Barbecue for sponsoring and catering the dinner for the Bassalone crew that was held on board the battleship. You can support Battleship New Jersey at the link in the description below, or by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find about us and the channel. Thanks for watching.